Ken Carson's music embodies many qualities, but its defining essence lies in its incredibly raw energy and chaos. And the main reason behind that lies in his incredibly electrifying production. So today I'm diving deep to show you exactly how to capture that sound for yourself. So without any further ado, the beat we're going over today sounds a little something like this. Before I get into the tutorial, I want to mention that all of the drum sounds you just heard are from my Deathbound drum kit. The kit contains all completely custom drum sounds, 0 recycled sounds, which are all perfect for making beats in the style of Ken Carson, Opium, Rage, etc. And if you go to the website, you'll see that it kind of has a little bit of a story to tell, a little bit of lore behind it, so to speak. So yeah, if you like the drum sounds you heard or just want a good story to listen to, check it out in the description below. But yeah, enough shoving kits down your guys' throats. Let's get into the tutorial. And the first thing I want to cover today is going to be the melody. Now, for the melody, you're going to want to start with some kind of synth pluck sound. And I just have this custom pluck that I made right here in Pigments. And what you're going to want to do is lay down a melody playing a 1, 2, 3, 4 rhythm. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to hit on every single one of those beats. And as far as which notes you're going to use, you're going to want to make use of the root note of your scale. For me, it's D because we're in D minor right now. And every minor scale contains 2 half-step intervals. And essentially all that means is that in every minor scale, there's 2 spots where there are notes right next to each other. So for D minor, it's F and E, as well as A sharp and A. And you're going to want to make use of these half-step intervals. These are perfect for like any kind of dark or sinister type of melodies. And this melody essentially is broken up into 2 chunks. I have this chunk down here, which essentially gives us the basis of our rhythm. And this chunk up here, which plays around with those extra half-step intervals as well as the root note. So this is what the whole first portion of our melody sounds like together. So now that we have a basis for our melody, let's add on to it. And the next thing we're going to throw down is some kind of high-pitched lead. And yet again, for this, we're going to be making use of those half-step intervals in the scale, as well as the root note of our scale. I know I say this a lot in my tutorials, but like those half-step intervals are truly like a cheat code for dark and sinister melodies. So yeah, this is what the lead sounds like. The next thing you're going to want to throw down are some kind of staccato strings. And these are absolutely essential. Like this defines that Ken Carson / Starboy type of sound. And yet again, broken record over here. We're making use of those half-step intervals as well as the root note. And something I like doing for these strings as well is adding on a shit ton of delay. These more so just act as like a textural component. Like without these, this melody is not the same. This just adds that like energy to it. And now the next couple things that I have in the melody aren't exactly essential, so I'm not going to delve too deeply into them. But once you have your essential components that I covered, you could just add in other things here and there to kind of fill your melody. So some things you could use are going to be pads, as well as some brass hits, and some kind of melodic sequence or arpeggio. So with that being said, this is what the melody sounds like in its entirety. So yeah, just to recap the melody, you're going to want to make use of various instruments, including synth plucks, high leads, staccato strings, stuff like that. And then in terms of the notes themselves, you're going to want to make use of your root note and your half-step intervals within your minor scale. So with that being said, the next portion of this beat that I want to cover is going to be the drums. And for the drums, you're really only going to want to focus on 3 main things. The first of which is going to be an extremely overblown heavy 808. And for this, you're going to be playing a relatively simple pattern, just making use of your root note. But something I like to do towards the end of my 808 patterns is introduce some variation in terms of the notes. So some notes you can play around with, yet again, are going to be that root note and those half-step intervals. And don't be afraid to make your 808 a little bit busy. This is going to be the main focal point of your beat, so don't hold back. And something I like to do to add some variety in my beats is I'll have 2 different 808 patterns in the chorus. The first of which is just going to be our main 808 pattern, and the second one is just going to introduce more notes and some more octave variation. This is just really going to assist in maintaining energy throughout your beats. That way it's not just the same thing playing over and over and over again. The second thing you're going to want to throw down for your drums is going to be snares with some kind of snare roll. So I just have this playing a very basic counter snare pattern up until the end, where it plays the super sick snare roll. And for these snare rolls, you're going to kind of want to go crazy with them. Yet again, this is a main focal point in the beat, so go all out. And yet again, just like the 808, I have 2 separate snare patterns. And for the second one, I just make some very basic changes, like adding rolls and extra notes and shit like that. And then the third thing you're going to want to focus on for your drums is going to be open hats to maintain the energy throughout your drums. So I have this open hat playing a super simple yet effective pattern. So for the first 4 bars of the drums, it's just playing on the downbeats. But for the next 4 bars, it's playing that 1, 2, 3, 4 rhythm again, hitting on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Having this kind of variation with the rhythm of your open hats kind of creates a contrast in the 2 separate sections of your drums. For the first section, there's not really a whole lot going on, you know, the open hats are just hitting on the downbeats, and the next section adds more energy with that faster rhythm. And the other drums also coincide with this, like towards the end of that 808 pattern, we're playing around with all the different notes, and then towards the end of the snare pattern, we introduce that snare roll. But yeah, for the drums, those are pretty much the main 3 things that you're going to want to focus on. Obviously, you're going to want to throw down things like claps and hi-hats, but those are pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, with that being said, this is what the drums sound like all together. And then yet again, these are all from my Deathbound drum kit. So check it out if you like what you hear. Now, the last thing that I want to briefly mention, which can really assist in adding like grit and energy to your beats, is going to be the introduction of horror screams. So I just have down this horror scream sample right here. And I have that playing at the beginning of the second chorus. I don't know what it is about horror scream samples, but it just makes a beat sound so much more like raw and visceral, especially if you do what I did by adding on distortion. So yeah, with that being said, that is going to completely cover Ken Carson's chaotic production and how you can emulate it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about anything at all, throw them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Also, consider checking out my Patreon where I post the FLPs to all of my beats in all of my videos, including this one. That way, if you want to study the melody, the mixing, the mastering, the arrangement, the drums, all that kind of stuff, it's right at your fingertips. And finally, consider subscribing as I post 1 tutorial a week and 1 sound kit a month. Other than that, it's going to be it. Peace!